Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Rob with Perfect Spiral Capital. Today we're jumping back into Nelson's Principles series for infinite banking, and we're looking at Nelson's fifth principle of rethinking your thinking. Really ties back or stems back to the arrival syndrome, which is described on page 34 of Becoming Your Own Banker. Here, Nelson describes that most often people have found themselves in a position where they kind of know it all, so to speak, in a given topic, or they feel like they know enough. And that couldn't be further from the truth. We need to constantly be challenging ourselves to rethink how we think about a given topic and consider the level of education or understanding that we need in order to rethink the thinking in the process. Being that Nelson was a devout Christ follower, I truly believe that this area stems from his belief system. And I think it ties back to some specific areas of scripture as well. The one verse that I've recognized or observed that really ties into this concept of rethinking your thinking is Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing you may discern the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Ephesians 4:23 also highlights a little bit about our thinking as well. So we can use these sources of truth to challenge ourselves to begin this thought process of thinking a little differently, thinking beyond the realms of what everyone else sort of wants us to think. When we start to think about this principle and how it ties back to the infinite banking concept, when it comes to conventional finance and quote unquote common knowledge in the financial world, this is a situation where we really have to think about things differently as it pertains to this concept that we're looking to practice. Here's a quick example that I think ties back to my own personal thinking in a way that I was kind of challenged to think differently about what I thought that I knew. Well, let's see if it maybe applies to you as well. Beyond knowing that your 401k account went up or down, or what the risk tolerance that you selected of conservative, neutral, or aggressive is, do you really understand how your 401k works? Do you really understand what the specific investments are, what the expense ratios are on all the funds that you may or may not be invested in? What are some of the additional risks at play? Or do you understand the future tax liability that a 401k actually creates? If you don't, much like I didn't at one point in time, it's really a good opportunity for you to start rethinking your thinking. And that starts with education. That starts with challenging yourself to think a little bit differently and learn a little bit more so that you can understand what is the best option for me to take, what is the best option for me to do if I'm applying some of these other principles, thinking long range and so forth. If that's the case, I do want you to know, like, you're not alone. These are situations that a lot of us have all faced. However, much like Nelson has said in other areas, once we learn and understand what's going on, we'll begin to know what to do. And that's part of this rethinking our thinking concept. What I considered 5 to 7 years ago as, good solid basis of knowledge and understanding, particularly in the realm of finance, is completely different than what it is today. And that's because I've gone through this process of relearning and rethinking and thinking differently about how things really work. What really changed for me was really challenging myself on what I knew or what I thought I knew, and then digging in and doing additional education and figuring out what's really happening so that I could make the best decisions for myself and my family. Much like how rethinking our thinking opens up new avenues of thought and new levels of understanding, applying this concept in our financial system also allows our capital to grow, much like our thought and understanding, and it helps open up new avenues of thought, new opportunities, because we have capital that we can now deploy that maybe we didn't have access to before. And it's about recapturing that level of income that maybe was lost before. As our thought process continues to evolve and merge, create these new avenues of thought, it also is going to allow us to find ourselves on this ever evolving pathway in which we need to constantly rethink and re-understand our level of thinking so that we grow and develop this level of creativity necessary to see ourselves expand well beyond what we ever thought was capable. Rethinking our thinking is something that should never escape us, nor should it ever end. It's a process of continual growth and continual evolution of our own mind and our own understanding. When we do this, it really opens up the wonderful possibilities for our families, for ourselves, for our future, and even the organizations that we're a part of. In terms of takeaways from today, I would just challenge you to really think about how you think. Think about not only what you think and why you think it, but where you get that information from and where those ideas came from. That's the start of kind of putting yourself down this pathway. And it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. The good news is there's many of us who've done this as well. We're here for you. I'm here for you. If you're ready to start down that path of rethinking your thinking, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it. Feel free to comment. Feel free to like and subscribe. And let's talk more about how you can rethink your thinking into seeing things from a different angle that are going to allow you to be more successful, not just in your financial life, but in your personal relationships, in your level of knowledge and your level of understanding. I hope to hear from you, and we'll talk to you again soon.